ready.
Right on. Okay, 4:30, as Leah said, June, what the hell, June 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Washington County Fair Board. I could see, let's see who we got everybody here.
We are missing Joy. Other than that, I think everyone's here.
We got Jerry, right? Yep. Okay, I see him. Okay.
Joy just sent his a chat that he's here.
Oh. Well, let me see if I can find him. Oh, hang on. Let me promote him to a panelist. Okay, there he is. Now he's here.
Perfect. All right, now with everybody here, we got a full quorum, which is really good. Okay, the meeting has been called to order. Now this will be the time for oral communications 1. The public has 2 times to be able to communicate with the board. This first time is limited to a period of 10 minutes, and we will allow anybody that would like to talk opportunity for 2 minutes. And if we do have copies of any addresses that are going to be made, we'd prefer if you could send them to the Fair Board, to Leah, to make sure that we can at least provide them. Is there anybody that would like to talk at this time?
Yes, we have one person that's requesting to talk, Janet Tilp, and I'm going to allow her to talk now. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay. Hi, I'm Janet Tilp. I'm a 4-H leader for the Fiber Goats in for Washington County. And I want to say thank you for the Fair Board for trying to allow the 4-H kids to try to have a fair. With that said, though, I want to say that with the presentation that Leah has been put forward is not quite what we all agreed on. I would like to work more with her rather than having her dictate what we want. I know there are some kids, some of my kids are really looking forward to being there for 2 days and others that are not. And if that's the case, I would like to have them be able to come in for the day and leave when they are done so they can be able to do their show. So thank you.
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak at this time?
I don't have any hands up. Jerry, I did get your message. I'm trying to figure out why we can't get your camera to enable. I'm working on that.
Yeah, mine's doing the same thing. I know sometimes I do it by choice, but not this time.
Oh. Well, okay. Let's see if I can maybe Lisa, if you can hear me, if you can figure out how to enable people's cameras, that would be great. I don't know why they aren't able to turn them on.
Yeah, Leah, you're the only one I can see.
I think you have to enable Lisa as a co-host. In this case,
Lisa is a co-host.
Okay, then she might be able to start the video.
Okay. All right, well, hopefully she can figure that out for us. All right, so we don't have any more hands up for public comment times, so.
Okay, we'll move on. We're not going to approve the minutes of May 2021 because we have not received them as of yet.
Yep, let me just comment on that real quick. I do apologize. I do not have the minutes for your approval at this time. As you guys all know, we're running hot and heavy trying to get the fair underway, and we are short-staffed, so I do not have the staff to do them to transcribe the minutes right now. So we are hoping that we'll have somebody on staff here within the next 30 days that can do that for us. So we will get those minutes to you at a later date, but I apologize, we don't have that.
Okay, with that, we will move on to reports, approval of the financial reports for fiscal year 2021.
Yep, and you have the year-to-date through April 2021 monthly financial in your packet. If you don't have the packet in front of you, I did put a link to the packet in your chat. But there's not really anything to talk about too much. No Revenue other than transient lodging tax that's coming in. We've got some personal services from staffing and just no expenditures at all for the month of April other than indirect charges.
Are there any questions on the financials?
I can borrow that TV downstairs.
I didn't hear that. What was that?
It was somebody that was unmuted.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was just about to make a motion to accept.
Well, Andy, can we make a motion to accept the minutes?
Yeah, I will. Yes.
Can I get a second?
Those.
Second.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, anybody disapprove? With that, the financials are approved. Okay, we'll move into education update. Bob, do we have anything?
We don't have anything right now. We have a meeting coming up June 10th. And as far as I know, we're kind of waiting to see what's going to be needed as far as what we can contribute to 4-H and such. So nothing new to report on that end other than that.
Leah, do you have anything on that?
I do not. No, not at this time.
Gary, could I ask Bob a question? This is Jerry.
Sure, Jerry.
Bob, I think 2 years ago, I gave your group the can't remember what you call yourself, but anyway, I don't know, $1,000 to help with some fundraising or something like that. I have that opportunity to do that again if you need that, or if you have a particular thing that you would like to do but don't have the funding. So how, and I know you haven't been able to raise any money for a couple of years, so how you doing on financing, and should I do that again?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're just waiting to see what FFA and 4-H need, and we're going to help contribute some amount to them. So we haven't raised any money. So if you could contribute that over, that's what we're going to use it for, to help pay the judges or whatever's needed there.
All right, I will do that this week.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Nice guy. Okay, with that, do we have any?
It's the Gary Seidel Retirement Fund that I'm avoiding.
It's been a long time, Jerry. Any back update?
No FAQ update at this time. We haven't met since our last Fair Board meeting.
All right, the videos are starting to work, I can see.
Oh, there we go.
So we're,
Lisa's getting it figured out.
Lisa got it all straightened out for us. That's perfect in there. All right, with that, we'll move on to old business. Let's move on to County Fair 2021 update.
All right, well, we are 51 days away from the county fair as of today. So it's coming along very quickly, and staff is working really hard to get everything done in such a short time period. Really quickly, I'm going to give you a staff update. We've had several changes to our staffing structure in the last couple of months, and I wanted to give you an update just because it does affect the Fair Board and the county fair to some degree. So we've had so as you all know, during this last year, during COVID, we've had a lot of our employees employed, and we were closed for over a year with no income coming in. And so we've really had to take a look at the funding that we have and the events that we have coming up, including the fair, and really just adjust our staffing structure. So in working with our county administrative liaison, Cia Lindstrom, as well as our HR liaisons, we work together to come up with a new staffing structure. And we're going to reclassify. We've reclassified a couple positions. We've eliminated a couple positions. We're filling some positions, and we've created some positions as well. So I know that most of our staff has been around for a very long time, and all of our staff. So I wanted to give you an update. 2 of our facilities maintenance worker positions are being reclassified, downgraded to general services aides. And there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, one of them, they were both vacant positions. As you probably all recall, right before COVID last year, Albert Flanagan Sr. retired, and we were getting ready to recruit for that position right when COVID hit. So we put that position on hold for recruitment. So it's been vacant, and that one's being reclassified to general services aide. And then Colton Thomas, who has been on our staff for 13 years, he got a job in Fargo, North Dakota at the Red River Valley Fair, and he is the fair operations supervisor. So he is the Albert of the Red River Valley Fair. His family is from that area, and so he's very excited to get to move back near his relatives. And so he's been gone for about a month, and we're very proud of him and wish him very well. But so his position has been empty, and we're downgrading that to general services aide. And there's a reason why. We've been working a lot more closely with county facilities in the last year. And so we don't necessarily need maintenance workers because we have access to county maintenance workers to help us out when we need maintenance here at the fairgrounds. But what we do really need help with is general services aides for mowing and janitorial and really, setting up of tables and chairs for events, more non-maintenance type work. So those positions are being recruited for right now. Our accounting position that's been held by Carol Devine for 17 years has been eliminated because Carol has taken a job elsewhere in the county. She's going to work for County Support Services. She is very excited about her new position there. And so we're taking this as an opportunity to redo that position. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute, but that position is being eliminated. Our contract and purchasing administrator, Will Culver, who only worked for us for 2 months before COVID hit last year, we're eliminating that position. He is staying full-time down in finance. He's accepted a job in finance. And then Julie, our program specialist, she has taken a job with housing. She's been down there for the last year. And that position we've decided to eliminate as well. We have realized that a lot of the duties that were performed by that position don't necessarily need to be done by a full-time FTE. We've got contractors working on a contract basis to do those jobs, such as selling vendor booths and things like that. So that position's been eliminated. The fair and event supervisor position that was previously held vacant, we are just getting ready to hire for that pre-COVID. We're eliminating that position, and we're going to review that for possible reintroduction in the next fiscal year. Same thing with our sales and marketing position that we had held open. We'd planned on filling that prior to COVID. We're eliminating that. We will review that again in the future. There were 2 other positions that we were getting ready to hire for right before COVID, and we'd held those open. One of them, they were both 2 event services coordinators, and we are going to eliminate one of those for now. Again, we'll review that in the future, but we are going to hire one of those here in the fall, starting in October 1, as our event center and our event business really starting to return. So the big change is, with Carol being gone and Julie being gone and Will being gone, we had an opportunity to really look at what kind of position we need to do those, to combine those positions together. And working with HR, they came up with having a business support specialist position, really combining all those duties that those 3 positions did into one position and expanding that position's classification a bit. And so that position is being recruited for right now. We are getting ready to review the candidates and start interviewing, and that person should start no later than July 1. And then 2 other new general service aides positions are being created and being recruited for right now as well. And that is to bring janitorial for the event center in-house. Using outside contractors was actually more expensive than having full-time FTEs. So it was a cost savings to actually bring those services in-house. So that is just a quick update. I wanted to make sure you guys were apprised of the staffing situation and you knew where everybody is and where they're not and what we've got coming. So there's just no surprises. And I know a lot of you really did know, Carol and Julie and Colton as well over the years. So I just want to give you an update on what they.
Leah, are we doing anything, a letter of appreciation or recognition or an award for Colton, Julie, and Jamie, and Carol rather?
So yes, so Colton, we already did on his last day. We gave him a plaque for his service of 13 years and just, general presents that we all bought for him. We've known him since, for 13 years. So we did a party for Colton a couple weeks ago when he left. And then Carol's last day is this Friday. And so we've ordered a plaque and we've got an event planned for Carol this Friday as well. If any of you would like to come by at 11 a.m. on Friday and wish Carol well in her new future positions in the county, you are more than welcome to stop by the office. And then, and then for Julie, we will be doing something for Julie as well. We just haven't got that quite planned out yet as we've been working on getting things ready for Carol's March. But
Okay,
I do appreciate it. Yes, they've been very highly valued members of our staff for a very long time. And while we're sorry to see people go, we are happy that they are able to be successful in their future plans.
excellent.
Any
Perfect.
questions on the staffing update? All right, moving right in.
All right, we'll
Go ahead.
move
So
on to the 4-H update.
well,
Oh, you got
actually,
you got something
yep,
else.
I'm going to kind of roll into just some fair updates really quick. Normally I do a staff update and I do a COVID update. So I'm just
Okay,
going to do that again. And then I'm going to give you a quick fair production update. And then I'm going to let Pat Willis give you guys a 4-H update. But just Oregon Health Authority COVID update. This is no surprise to anybody, but I just want to reinforce it as well. Obviously, the OHA guidance is changing regularly. Restrictions, requirements, recommendations are loosening. We are currently in low risk, and whatever the OHA requirements are in place at the time of the fair, if any, is what we are going to be required to follow. So what that looks like in, over a month from now, I don't know. We do know that we are currently following the, that if we're still in the same pattern, we're still in low risk, and whatever those requirements are, if those are still in place when the fair comes along, that's what we'll be following. We're all hearing the different metrics that if the state gets to 70%, the governor may or may not, remove the restrictions, but, we hear a lot of different things and things change regularly. So I think my mantra right now is we're waiting to see what they are, and whatever they are at that time is what we've got to do. So not much to tell you other than we're just waiting to see what happens, and we'll follow the rules when the time comes. Any questions on that?
Leah, do you have any vibe at all on what's happening around the state and the different county fairs? And then I just noticed on a post, I think it was this week, that the state fair is going forward as planned.
Yes, so the state fair is moving forward. They, again, like I've told you guys before, I sit on the Oregon State Fair Board. They are very much like us. They're moving forward cautiously with what we're calling a COVID fair, just like us. They've got, they're going to have capacity restrictions if those still exist, mask restrictions if those still exist. They will be following whatever OHA requirements are in place at that time as well. So pretty much all fairs in Oregon are moving forward in some manner with whatever restrictions that are required. I can't think of any fair in Oregon that isn't happening. A few had canceled early on, but they've uncanceled, like Deschutes had canceled, but now they've uncanceled, so they are moving forward. The only one I'm aware of that is still canceled that really is close to us is the Clark County Fair in Vancouver, Washington. Did cancel about a month ago, and they are remaining canceled. Other than that, all the other fairs in Oregon and in our region are going to be operating to whatever degree that they are operating.
okay.
All right, so
Now,
go ahead.
I want to ask one thing, though, Leah, is
Yeah.
realizing fire season's approaching us, and with fire weather and everything looking like it is, this could be a real busy year. What provisions do we have in place in case we need to shelter animals like we did for Clackamas last year?
So we are anticipating that as well. I'm working very closely with the County Emergency Operations Center, who I worked with last year when we did animal evacuations for the fires. And we learned a lot last year. We learned we didn't have a plan in place, and we do have a plan in place for this year. We've worked really closely with our EOC. We've got plans in place. The one thing that we are going to do a little bit differently is after the fair, we are going to set the barns up in case they are needed. Last year we didn't have a fair, so the barns had not been cleaned out. No stalls had been set up. So we were really kind of caught behind when animals started arriving. We were scrambling to set pens up. We are going to work on the front end of that this year. I would rather have pens set up for when animals arrive if they need to arrive, rather than be scrambling at the backside. So we'll be prepared. And if we don't have any animals evacuated to our area, great, but we will be prepared in the event that they do.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Leah,
Yes?
you're on the state fair board. Is that strictly a youth show, or is that open for adult animal show?
I have not heard if what they're doing in relation to livestock shows at this time. They have not given us an update yet.
Okay.
As soon as I hear something, Bill, I can send you an email.
Yeah, I've got people calling me and wanting to know, so.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I know that they're just a few weeks behind us in planning. We made the decision in April to move forward with the fair, and they made the decision just a few weeks ago. So they're working like we are, trying to get it figured out. So as soon as they know, they will let the community know.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I'm just, like I said, I'm going to give you a quick fair production update, and then I'm going to turn it over to Pat Willis to give you a 4-H update. And then I'll talk a little bit about my projected modified budget. And then that's going to be pretty much it for my presentation. But for fair production, we're all moving along fast and furiously. We've only got a few staff people, but we've brought in some contractors to help us. Many of you will remember my predecessor, Don Hillman. He is contracting with me, and he's helping me with a few things here in the office just because we're so short-staffed. So Don will be taking on some duties for the fair. I jokingly have said I'm putting him in charge of garbage and janitorial, but it's not a joke. He's in charge of garbage and janitorial. So we've been laughing about that here in the office for those of you that remember Don. So as far as, the big question that we are getting asked every single day by people calling, social media, email is, will there be 4-H and FFA at the fair? And I also want to just make sure that you guys know that while FFA and 4-H are allowed to have in-person activities at the fair, their numbers are very, very limited. And we'll talk about their numbers here in a few minutes. So I just want to really manage those expectations. I just want everybody to understand that while they are allowed to be at the fair, there's just a lot less 4-H and FFA kids this year. So I don't want there to be any surprises by anybody. And we're working together with 4-H to come up with a communication message so we can communicate to the public, why that is, so that they understand that they know in advance that when they come to the fair, they're not going to see the normal, 800 and something animals in the barns. So the livestock schedule, you've got a sample of that in the package. 4-H I submitted a schedule out to them like I normally do every year. Normally our staff prepares a 4-H or a livestock schedule. We give it to 4-H and FFA, and that's what the schedule is. I put out a draft schedule to them a couple weeks ago. They came up with a response to it. There was some issues that I, had with it, which you can see in your packet. I've got some notes on it. There's some safety issues, and I'm requesting that they, go back and ask their 4-H and FFA people to maybe participate at the fair more than just for the couple hours of the show, to give the opportunity for the public to see the animals and to give the opportunity for the 4-H and FFA kids to educate the public about where their food comes from. But that's still in process. So we gave that revised request back to 4-H just yesterday. So they are still going to be working with their 4-H members on that as well. And we have a meeting with them again next week. As soon as we nail down a livestock schedule, we will send it to you and let you know. Non-animal projects are still going to be judged pre-fair, but aren't going to be displayed. Just again, to manage expectations, in the past, we've had 395 4-H kids with 711 projects. That's non-animal. And FFA had 29 kids with 59 projects. And all those non-animal displays, all the art and all the flowers and the food and all those different things. So they're going to be not doing all of those activities, but they are still going to have some activities that will be judged here on site, but will not be displayed for the public. The livestock auction has decided to be virtual for 2021. We're going to hopefully be working with them for 2022 on having some sort of hybrid so they can continue being virtual, but also have some on site. We hope there's some opportunity for the future with them. But then real quickly, just on the more of the positive side, all the entertainment for the family stage, the tap house stage, and the grounds entertainment is done. We've got Brad's Reptiles, and we've got pig racing, and we've got lots of musical entertainment and jugglers and magicians and all that kind of stuff scheduled. But again, no national act concerts. Been working very closely with the carnival on an expanded carnival. They're going to be bringing more rides, and we're going to be spreading them out so those lines are more socially distanced. The outside contractor that we're using to sell vendor space outside and in the wingspan is going very well. We have 200 booths to sell in the wingspan, and those are about half sold, and the outdoor space selling is going very well. we're very excited about that, especially at such a last minute date. Our alcohol concession contract is already in place, and we will be selecting our food vendors next week. We've been receiving food concession applications for the last couple of weeks, and we will be making our final selections next week. Home arts is the one thing, the open class home arts that we were talking about doing. We're still hoping that we can take some entries and have some display. Right now, we're just struggling with some staffing. So if we can get some freed up time from a staffing perspective, if we can get this new venue administrative support specialist on to take some things off my plate and take some things off Albert and Lisa's plate, then Lisa and I can really work on some of that open class competitions. But just know that it's still on the back of my mind. It's on the back burner, and we're hoping that we can have something, but a lot of it's just going to depend on something. And then just one thing that I can't remember if I have talked to you guys about before, but one of the promotions that we're going to do Monday through Thursday during the 10-day fair, between the 2 weekends, in trying to get people to come out on less crowded days, we're going to do a free parking promotion on Monday through Thursday. So Friday and Saturdays, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, we'll still charge for parking, but Monday through Thursday, we'll do free parking, trying to entice some of those people who maybe don't really care if they come out on a Saturday or Sunday, but might want to come out on a Tuesday to have, listen to some music and eat some fair food, and entice them with some parking. Then I've got one more slide, and then we'll toss it over to Pat. So these are the livestock numbers. I just wanted to give you a quick comparison. These are the estimated 4-H and FFA livestock numbers we'll have for this year, which is between 164 and 174 animals. And just in comparison, that's in the past, in 2019, we had 645 4-H and FFA large and small animals at the fair, which is down 73%. So again, I really managed that expectation that the number of kids participating at the fair is not the same. I just want to make sure that nobody is surprised when they show up at the fair and they don't see lots and lots of 4-H and FFA kids, that they're highly disappointed. We're just really trying to manage those expectations. So with that, I think Pat has already been promoted to panelist and can speak. I just want to check. Yep, Pat.
I've been promoted, huh? All right.
Promoted. There you go. Your turn, Pat.
Well, good to see all you in little squares here. Let's start off with some good news here. Our Washington County 4-H Association is the nonprofit arm of 4-H. Every county has a nonprofit just like that. Was able to raise funds to support activities at the fair this year, because when this started, there wasn't a fair planned, but they started raising money in case there was, and it worked out good. And Jerry, thank you for your donation, and that was all part of the pot there. So, so that's good. So then, so that we have enough funds to support the about 100 kids or so we have in 4-H at the fair. And just like Leah said, it's not going to be the fair that we want to see. What happened is COVID reared its ugly head, and it's still impacting us. Even as it winds down, a lot of kids didn't sign up for 4-H because of that, and everything's been remote until just a few weeks ago for us. And then we can still have face-to-face meetings, but they have to be pre-authorized and all that type of thing. But as the rules, loosen up, our phrase that we use is, "This is what we know now." And with information from the governor, it seems like it changes every week. We have no idea what the future is going to look like. So we have to follow those same Oregon Health Association authority guidelines. We've been meeting, constantly since mid-winter about all this, and had a meeting this last week. Was it last week? I guess it was too. The time keeps going by. And we kind of came up with this phrase. We're not going to use it for marketing. It's not quite right. But this is really the opportunity for a taste of 4-H at the fair and a taste of FFA, not the full meal deal. And so we need to make sure that we manage that so people still see animals and kids. But boy, it's when you have 6 goats in a barn, that doesn't look very like we want it to. It's almost like going to a museum where the exhibit says out of order. And that we can't have that kind of atmosphere. So we've been working with fair schedules. We started putting together plans, information and surveys from our volunteers and our superintendents back in February and March, getting what worked out best for them. And back then, the vision was to schedule anytime in July. July is kind of fair month, and we did. And then as more information came on and the board here decided to, let's do something in the April meeting. Well, then we went back to our volunteers and said, well, how do we fit this in so we have, towards the fair week? And then the May one came up with more information. So it's been this kind of constant move of the schedule, trying to get it to fit. And so people have, taken vacation time and that type of thing. There's a kind of economic component with all this too, with our volunteers, because they've been hit hard by the pandemic. Some have, some haven't. But all of us are under a certain amount of trauma with all this, and we've talked about that before. So how do we provide this kind of safe, healthy environment for the visitors and all the kids too? So that's kind of the big vision for all this here. With the fair schedule, we got the one from Leah, the draft one, and then we took that to our volunteers and said, can you switch this around, change your vacation times, or they hired judges to adjust that. So we came back with another plan, and then this went out, and we got this other one today too. We just sent it out to all our volunteers today, and to get more information. We have another meeting tonight and next Monday and next Wednesday to process this as much as possible. And it really does kind of come down to, we have a lot of kids and families want to participate, but there's still a nervousness, a fear out there of COVID, crowds, but hopefully that'll dissipate over time, but that's still out there. We have some other programs we're doing, we work with kids in career college readiness, and we meet with them on Zoom, and we're going to do these one-day field programs with them. And we have some partners coming from the U.S. Forest Service to help us with that. And the families that are involved with that, about half those families want to do the online stuff with our kids, have them do with their kids, but they're not ready for the face-to-face yet. So that anxiety is still out there, and but we're trying to work through that. So we've taken the latest request from Leah, have it sent to all our volunteers, and our superintendents are working with that to see what will work, what's going to actually fit. And with their schedules already, and we have a lot of kids that want to participate and they really love FAIR, and they get a lot out of it. But we just don't have the numbers this year. And we're the only county across the state that didn't charge a fee for kids to participate in 4-H this year too. And there's always an annual fee. It helps pay for insurance and those type of things. We were able to absorb that because we didn't want to have kids make that another hurdle for them to participate. But even still, their numbers are down dramatically. And all of our programs have been virtual through 4-H also. So the plan right now is to get information back from our volunteers and to see what best fits in this revised schedule. And I say this all the time to you guys and everybody else, that the way we make decisions in 4-H is how are we helping kids, what's best for kids and families. And that's the highest priority we have. We need to make sure their participation at the fair is going to provide them with those positive experiences. And the other thing too, we ask our volunteers to in their clubs and their families to come out and participate. but all we can do is ask. And we ask because they're volunteers. And even during a normal fair year, fair is a voluntary activity. A lot of 4-H kids participate, but not all. And so it depends on family schedules and all those type of things. So we're trying to fill these gaps as much as possible. There will be gaps, I think, just because of the way the world is. And then how the schedule fits what people have already put in their summer schedules too. Questions?
Yeah, hey, Pat, I have one question.
Sure.
And it's regarding moving in of animals and people after the public is open and the fair has already started. We've never done that in the past. And as a retired public safety official, I can tell you one thing, that is a big, big safety hazard.
Yeah, no, and when we had this original draft plan, we didn't know when those times were going to be at the fair. And and our volunteers, they didn't know either. And now we know. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, there's that issue. I agree with that. There's a biosecurity issue too. We need to make sure we cover that and following those guidelines. And fencing, have appropriate fencing around there. So if an animal gets loose, it can't get out in the streets or into the crowds. So that's a concern too.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's part of our thought process for sure. The animals come in the backside behind the barns, and even during when we're unloading, they all come in the backside. So I don't know if there's a way of looking at that process, to make it even safer, or if animals do have to leave for health reasons, or that has to be part of that thought process too.
Yeah, we've always had those case-by-case basis. I remember that, doing that. But yeah, that's something that's coordinated. But with biosecurity, with dust, E. coli, with COVID and everything getting in there, and the potential of an animal getting loose is also something we got to be aware of, as you mentioned, in there. Now, I have a question. Is the public going to be able to view these animals too?
Well, as far as I know, there's only 2 show rings we have. Well, 3. We have the north and south show ring and the auction ring. So we've planned all the activities and the events in those areas. For animals in the barns, we didn't know the barns were available until your last meeting, and they were, because this thing's been growing and changing over time. So that gives another opportunity. And in the past, we'd have visitors in the fair, walk down the aisles of the barns and see the animals and the kids and that type of thing. But to have the general public walk down an aisle and see 3 goats, I think we need to change what that is. And if there are goat people are available to be there, maybe just have the first part of the barn for that. And so it's almost like a display type thing or something like that. Plus we have very few kids, and we don't have the number of kids to be in the barns like we would do a herdsmanship type program where we have different clubs scheduled to be in different barns at different times. So there's always someone there. But if we only have 6 kids doing something, it's for them to be there for 3 days or 2.5 days or whatever that length is in the barn. We don't know if that's possible or not yet.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Gary, if I could,
You
Pat,
bet.
I need to understand the person that testified in our open communication right at the first of the meeting. I thought I heard that the kids were going to basically show up and display the animals and then leave. And that was their preference. Did I hear that correctly? And I'm wondering.
It was show the animals. They want to come in, do their show, and leave.
And so why would that, I mean, why? if we are, I mean, maybe I'm being optimistic, but we're going to reach the 70% plateau, hopefully within the next few weeks. And I think the rules are going to change. And I think, obviously, you know, there's some other things that we could put in place for safety. We want the kids to feel safe. But I'm really wanting this fair, because we've been out of service now for 2 years. I really want this fair to be a real demonstration of our 4-H and our FFA, and, you know, and represent the agriculture side of things, because in my district, that's the number one issue, is the fair is too commercial. It's too urban. And so I'm wondering how we can go about to significantly enhance this opportunity we have to demonstrate that we're back in the queue, and 4-H and everybody else is involved. And so, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on a little bit here, but I just want to make sure that I understand, I guess, what the issues are and how we can work with 4-H and everybody else to overcome those issues.
Yeah, no, Jerry, we have the same conversation too with fair and participation. The COVID is causing that thought process. There's still a fear out there, and you know, I think it was 86% of our kids are 16 and under, you know, and 11 under can't get vaccinated yet. And so there's a, you know, if we're at some kind of a 70% vaccinated capacity, well, the young ones aren't, and that's in the thought process, and that's why Janet brought that up too. It's there's just still that anxiety out there, and we can ask people to participate, and actually, you know, during a normal fair, kids love doing this. They love being in the barns. They love sharing information with the public. They're good at it, you know, and that's a big part of fair. Another part is you're camping there too, and that camaraderie is all built. That's the fair experience for the youth, and then the contests and the shows. That's all part of it too. That's the vehicle to get there. But this year is, you know, it's not even close to normal. But how do we make it feel like what you're talking about? I've heard the same concerns about the commercialization, and you know, and then especially from your side of the county there.
You know, Pat, we had that discussion on May 5th when Jerry, Andy, Leah, and I sat with you when we were discussing on how we were going to run option 4 of the fair. And part of that was to be able to make sure that we had a good avenue for the 4-H kids and the FFA kids to be able to qualify for the state fair, but also be able to provide that community effect. And you agreed upon that, but now I'm seeing reservations that you don't want to go through with it.
I don't think you're correct, Gary. I think we have participants that want to do this. We just don't have the numbers to have, you know, those kids in the show rings and in the barns to participate. We're not doing master showmanship. We don't have the competitive numbers of kids to participate in that. And that's the anxiety behind all this. People want to, I'm amazed how many people want to have a fair experience. They want to be there. They want to do this. I hate to go back to it, but it's that COVID nightmare still. And on the other part of it too, these families have been, especially kids with OSU, there's a huge research base of youth-informed, trauma-informed care. And that's another thing we need to be very careful of, what experience are we providing kids and families, especially who have been impacted more by this, by maybe not just the virus, but the economics of it, the isolation of it, the the families that have to stay home to help their kids in school. This whole virtual component, it got us by, but it's not a way of living in society that we want.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, Pat, but remember back on May 5th, we knew the barns were available. We discussed that as an option, that the barns would be available, and before the kids go into the show rink, they could still show to the public before they leave their stalls and head into that rink, and we discussed that.
And we shared that with our volunteers. And it's really their choice. We don't have the ability to contract with them, there's still that concern out there. And we share as positively as possible, but these are volunteers in the community. These are kids in the community. And we respect our volunteers immensely. And it's a collaborative relationship with them. It's a coordinated relationship with them. 4-H is volunteers are what makes 4-H go. It's not Pat Willis by any means.
Yeah, no, we know that. We understand that. And that's worked, COVID or non-COVID, for the past 13 years that I've been on the fair board. And we've seen that collaboration going in there. And even though we're going to have minimal kids there, we still want the public to be able to come out with something of this too, besides ensuring that the kids qualify for the state.
Yeah, and then between May and now, we found out the state fair is going to be open, and that was a new information. We don't, we don't have any other information on what's going to be offered at the state fair yet. That's still in process. Leah might have more information, but that's still in process, I know. And we have kids that want to participate down there too, and so that changed the dynamic some there also. So, and that goes right back to this is what we know now. It's been this constant change, and that's another level of stress for our community. You know, I hopefully will have as many 4-H kids and families participate as we can, and they want to be there, but it needs to be safe for them too. It has to have that health and safe component that they feel comfortable with at their level.
Hey, Gary, I just want to point out that Andy had his hand up for quite a while.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Andy. I can't see your hand up, buddy.
Oh, that's okay. I took it down because you've been discussing what I was thinking anyway. And that is that when you made reference to Jerry Gary, that Jerry and I and you had met. And I think at that time, at least from my standpoint, I was thinking that we, the fair board, were the obstacle in limiting how many people could participate. But what I'm hearing is that the volunteers don't want to participate to the degree that we thought that they did. And I don't think we have a lot of control over that. So I just want to make sure that we're not turning anybody away because we're the obstacle.
Right on.
And David has his hand up, Gary.
Okay.
I just want to bring everybody close to the chat that was sent by Janet. Note that 4-H is a totally volunteer program and each family has issues to deal with COVID.
Thanks, David.
Are there anybody else that want to speak on this issue?
Well, and so, yeah, if I just want to make sure that we're sending a message that we will do everything feasibly possible to keep these kids safe. If that means we would require masks to physically visit the livestock, and there's certain areas and things like that, I'm sure that we could do that. So I think I'm hearing the message that we're willing to go as far as we need to go to provide a safe environment for these kids. Is that the message that's being communicated to them? And are they responding back, well, if you would do this, then we would do this? Or is it just right now, no, we don't feel safe?
I wouldn't say we don't, not everybody feels like, oh, it's not safe, but some people do. All we can do is ask people to change their schedules to fit with what is in the plan, what Leah sent out just today. And if they can, they want to participate. But there is still that kind of underlying safety issue. Leah, what's the with even with COVID right now, what's the capacity of the fairgrounds?
33,506.
When people hear numbers like that, that's scary.
That
And-
doesn't mean that many people will be there, but when you
No.
ask what the maximum capacity is, that's per OHA, that is our maximum capacity.
Yeah, because Leah brought that up just at our last meeting, and you know, I've been there, you know, for 12 years, in my 13th year, well, except last year, I guess. The boy, on a Friday night or a Saturday, it's hard to walk through the crowds. It's so crowded, and I think that's part of the anxiety. And that personally, that's my fear too. What does that mean for me or other volunteers too, and well, but other staff? And that's a tough one to look at that and think, ooh, is that safe? What does that mean? So I don't know. I'm not that.
I just also want to point out, Pat, you were asking about biosecurity and fencing, and obviously, I mean, obviously I was the one that was carrying this major biosecurity message for years. So all the biosecurity policy would stay completely 100% in place with every bit of the biosecurity that we've always done. That would not change whatsoever. And then all the fencing that we would normally put up to keep the public from getting into livestock spaces and vice versa are already ordered as well. I mean, if we end up not having livestock, or it's, you know, people or we don't have livestock in barns, then I need to change our order. So I need to know that sooner rather than later. But you know, if we're not going to have animals on display, then we don't need to set up the barns, and we don't need to rent tents, and we don't need to rent fencing and things like that. But as of now, all of that stuff has been already ordered.
Bill has something.
If
Lean forward, Bill.
If you said 33,000 people, is that at one time being on the ground? Or is
Yes,
that
so
if you have a percentage of like 25% of 33,000?
So our maximum capacity is 33,506. At any one time, we have never, in my 21 years of being here, have we ever reached 33,506 people at any one time. I think our maximum capacity when it's on a Friday and Saturday night, when it's just the lines at the carnival are so full and you can barely, you know, buy a corn dog, that's probably right about, you know, 20,000 people. So the fact that OHA has given us this maximum capacity, they're using way lower numbers than we normally even use from our perspective. They're saying 5 square feet per person, and we normally do a capacity of 16 square feet per person. So we have been enacting for all the years I've been here a much higher capacity level than even OHA is allowing during COVID times. So it seems rather ridiculous that their numbers are so low, but we've never hit that amount of people at any one time ever.
Jerry has his hand up here.
So Gary.
Yep.
Gary, I'm waving at you, Gary. So I just want to I want to leave a really strong message in this conversation. I want to communicate to the 4-H and the FFA that we will do everything possible to make a safe environment, because we need them to participate at the fair, and not to just come and go for the showings, but to be there and to be a part of the flavor of the fair. So Pat, whatever that takes, let's have the conversation and let's have that communication back out to the 4-H community.
Right on.
Okay.
Bob, I saw you were also waving.
No, that was Bill.
Okay.
I support 100% what Jerry and you have been saying. I think there's some communication lag here, and
Okay.
I think it needs to get. I don't believe there are a whole lot of people that are scared to come out with the progress that's been made. So I think that communication is really important.
Anybody else want to speak on the issue?
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
comment.
hey, Pat, can you convey what we discussed here and what Jerry went ahead and discussed? Can you discuss that with the 4-H parents and FFA?
Yeah, I don't interact with FFA parents, but you know, just the
Okay.
we involve FFA advisors just because it's all part of the communication. Yeah, no, and that's where we have a meeting tonight. We have a meeting with Leah and Tanya from the county next Monday. And we have another meeting next Wednesday with our superintendent. So we're trying to fast track this as much as possible because I know time is, you know, cruising by quick. And I saw in the chat was a concern from a parent. But there's not, I can't change an attitude about COVID, but and people do want to participate. We want to have that experience, but how do we couch that in a way that it's, you know, they know it's safe and it's positive for kids and their families, and they haven't had a lot of positives this last year.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, Joy has his hand up.
Okay, Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is probably not related to 4-H, but in general to the fair. So with 50 days to go, our current website does not even reflect any COVID guidelines or the confidence to public saying that it's safe for us to come to the fair. So I would like to see those communications being updated on a website, the restrictions that we have, and also the communications on what we talked about, so that it's in general people the public feel confident in our protocols to come to the fair, not necessarily to just the 4-H part, right? In general for the bigger fair. And I see that that's not being updated today. So just wanted to make a comment on that.
Yeah, thank you. As we get ready to start pushing out our advertising and marketing messaging for the fair, we're trying to not put out too much at the moment just because it's changing so quickly. But as we get closer to the fair, we will really start, we'll know more what that is and we'll really start hitting that home. But right now it's just changing so quickly that what it is today, we don't want to confuse people by putting out what today's requirements are when they could be completely different in a month. So we're going to, but I think somewhere on there, it does say that we're following all OHA requirements. So, but we will start really hitting that home because we don't want people to be surprised when they come to the fair.
Part of the process here is that this is such a there is such a high-speed movement right now. Last minute, usually planning starts, like Leah said, in the fall, and then for us too, it starts way early. So going from zero to a full meal deal is exhausting for our kids, and of course Leah and her staff too. I do have a question. Is the swine? Is there going to be a swine tent? I know the swine people will ask me, is that on or off? Do you know, Leah?
Yeah, the information I sent to you yesterday still has the tent on there.
Besides, what if you talked about the small animal barn?
Yeah, no, that's just not going to work. They have to have a wash rack. So they would still need to be in a tent. But if they're not going to stay on site, if they're just going to come in and show and leave, then we wouldn't want to go through the expense of having a tent. But if they're just going to come in and unload and show and reload back out. But if they're going to stay and be in the barns, then yeah, we will definitely rent the tent and set everything up.
That's one of the questions they had, was about that, because that's kind of a big deciding factor.
Yeah, that was in the paperwork that I sent you originally and yesterday.
Yeah, you talked about changing that, so that's okay, good.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, we'll ask our volunteers to participate. And the people that do, we will work with them to make sure they have the most positive experience possible. We're limited by staff too, because usually we hire 3 or 4 kids who are a year out of 4-H to come back and help out, and because they're fantastic role models for kids in 4-H, and they actually see the world. There is a world after 4-H too, in college or whatever they're doing. So, but we can't. It's too late for us to do that too. So we're pretty limited on our ability to put on a normal fair, whatever you want to call it. So we'll do our best.
Hey, thanks, Pat. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you. Yeah.
All right, Leah, how about the proposed update of the fair budget?
Okay, so you have the proposed budget in your packet as well, the full detail, but just wanted to just give you some quick bullet points here for this revised fair budget. So just as a reminder that the budget that was submitted way back in January was based upon the numbers for the 4-day county fair, the 2019 actual fair costs and revenues and expenditures, minus the national concerts. The one exception for those 2019 actuals is we were using updated TLT, updated staffing, and updated indirect charges in that. And that was the budget that was submitted to the county commissioners. In that 4-day budget was a little over $1 million in revenue and 1.2 million in expenditures. And then, and now we are doing 10 days and things have drastically changed since we were putting together a budget in January. Just as a quick note, I know I've talked to you for the last couple of months that lobbyists, there've been some bills put down at the state legislature about raising and expanding the fair funding. Right now, every fair in Oregon gets just a little over $53,000. And the bill got pretty far down the road, but at the end, they did not expand the fair funding. So it is staying at $53,166 for this coming year, which they'll just keep working on it. Hopefully, eventually they'll get the expanded fair funding, but right now that was not passed this year. So that is not going to increase like we thought it was. But so the working budget that I've got presented here in front of you is based upon the 10-day COVID fair model, you know, limited hours, you know, limited capacity, although not really like I talked about before, the capacity that the OHA gives us is way higher than we would normally have. But we get longer days. We've got, instead of just a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we get 10 days of getting commission from our fair partners, such as food and alcohol and carnival. That's where our revenue comes from, and parking. So in this working budget, and just as a reminder, we can't submit a new budget. Our budget has already been submitted and it's going through the county process, but this is more of a working budget. And I'm projecting that we're going to bring in about 1.5 million in revenue and expend about 1.4. So, and again, these are just projections. This is pretty conservative in revenue. It's not projecting that we will do what we would normally do in a 10-day pre-COVID. In a 10-day pre-COVID, we knew we were going to really expand our numbers. There were going to be a lot more attendees, and this year we're going to be conservative and know that we're going to have a few more because we have 10 days instead of 4. But we're really being conservative in our revenue projections. But our expenditure projections, I do want to point out that we were able to really renegotiate some contracts for the fair. The entertainment that we had previously contracted for the original 10-day fair came in much lower after some of our entertainers haven't worked in 18 months. So they really sharpened their pencils and reduced a lot of their costs. So our expenditures for this 10-day fair model are actually pretty darn good. They would have been a lot more pre-COVID, and then obviously there's no concerts within those expenditures, and we've got less county staff as well. So there's some savings that we're going to realize in this COVID fair model. But I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you want to go through the detail more, line by line, I can do that. Just let me know what you'd like to see.
Leah, the TLT tax looks like there's a 10% projection increase on the revised budget. How's that tax looking like these days in the county for us?
So that number in there, so our original projection of the 237,000, that was the reduced amount for COVID. That was not our original amount. Normally we get a significantly higher amount of TLT tax, but it's trending up just slightly since this budget was submitted. So just recently, County Finance reported to me that they're estimating that the fair will bring in a little over 261 for TLT this year.
Leah, does this does this projection on the revenue side take into account that you won't have any parking revenue for Monday through Thursday?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, and Leon, if I could ask, there was another revenue item there. So this basically what we budgeted, the approved budget was a what was it, a 4-day fair or 5-day fair or something like that. And now we're at 10 days. And so I see you've eliminated the camping fees, so not a big deal, $8,700. And yeah, it is so interesting just to Andy's question about parking fees going from 150 to 250. So anyway, I realize there's a lot of this that is just kind of a guess. But then we get down in the fair expenses for the wages, and there's basically one number. So I'm assuming that's all loaded. You just put it all in one number, so we don't have to go through the payroll and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. Well, that's, this is really interesting. It's going to be, what's going to be interesting is to see how much participation that we have from the community on this. And so, yeah, I appreciate the fact that you put together a modified budget on that, because I was asking for that as well. And so, yeah, we'll just wait and see, but this looks good. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Do we need to approve this budget?
That'd be great.
Okay, how about a motion to approve the budget as proposed?
So
I second.
moved.
Approved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody object? All right. Fair budget's approved.
All right, thank you. All right, moving right along, our next item is county administrative update. I just want to point out that Sia Lindstrom is on a much needed vacation, so she is not with us this week. And I don't have any update from the county administration unless there's something that Jerry would like to talk about.
No, not in regards to the fair and the fairgrounds. I don't have any update for that.
All right. Yep, no update from me either. Sia will be joining us at our next meeting like normal.
Okay. All right, then this is the time for oral communications too. Anybody that hasn't spoken before is allowed to speak. This time you get the opportunity to talk for 5 minutes per person and a maximum time of discussion for 30 minutes. Do we have anybody that would like to address the board?
I have one hand raised from Annabelle Morgan. Let me.
Okay.
Okay, Annabelle, go ahead.
Sorry, I put it in the Q&A. So I'll try to quickly say, I agree with Pat that there's a lot of reservations on the part of people, you know, coming to fair with big groups of people with our kids. And so I really appreciate the fact that you're going to implement as many safety precautions, and whether it be requiring them to wear masks and having monitoring so that the distancing, I mean, you're saying that you're going to follow OHA guidelines, which are changing by the minute. But I think if families knew that these would be, it wouldn't be just, okay, whatever the guidelines are at this time, that they might be more willing to participate. And in my Q&A, I put, you know, because some family members, they have people that are very at risk at home. And so they may be vaccinated even, but they may still be concerned about bringing home something to that family member. And I know all the kids really, really want to participate in fair. They have just been, they were so bummed last summer when they couldn't. And so I appreciate the fact that you're going to try to make it possible for them to actually come in person. But we also have to be inclusive and try to figure out how we can address those members who still are not comfortable. And so we may have to do some creativeness in doing some virtual judging as well. But so I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to, you know, to work with us and our volunteers, and trying to figure out, like Pat was saying, who's going to be in the barn when somebody's out showing, you know, the safety and that kind of thing. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Leah?
Yep, we have Jen Reynolds. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jen Reynolds. I am the sheep superintendent for 4-H, as well as one of the co-chairs for the auction committee. And I just wanted to take a moment to say that I believe Gary, it was, brought up moving in and out while public is on the grounds. And I just wanted to point out that we go to State Fair every year, and every year we've had to move in and out while public is walking amongst us. And they don't even have the benefits of being behind a gate like we do. The only issue I would see is being able to get inside the fairgrounds. As long as we had that room in the back there to move around, I don't think there would be any problem with moving people in or out, because we do have that barrier of separation between livestock and the 4-H members, and the public, I guess. So, and the other thing I did want to ask about or mention is when it comes to some of the hesitation from fair or 4-H kids and parents and volunteers. I mean, I know COVID is a lot of it. However, over the last years that I have been more involved with 4-H, I mean, more than just a parent, is things like every year we have to pay massive parking fees. Everybody that comes in, I mean, we have to be there for our kids to show. We have to be there, and we have to pay a parking fee every day, or we have to pay this humongous fee to pay for the week. And why things, I mean, these 4-H kids come in and do you guys a favor by having their animals there. Yet here we sit and pay. We've taken our time off work. We've putting money into the projects and the kids, you know, to pay for camping that is nothing more than just a dry spot on the ground, and to be able to be there with our animals to make sure everything's safe and that our kids can have a place to go lay down out of the sun. And then to turn around and pay extra money to park our car there. And then things like bracelets. Every year it's like a surprise. Do we get bracelets? Don't we get bracelets to be behind the, you know, main area and livestock area? And we have to fight these little things every year. And it just seems to be very frustrating to people that, I mean, it shouldn't be. And so, I don't know, just some of the things that I've mentioned, like I've seen over the years that become more and more aggravating as time goes on. Not that it's not, I mean, like, yes, if you want bracelets, great, but can we have it organized a little better than we need to write down on a list everybody that needs to have a bracelet, turn it into the fairgrounds, then they need to go up to the thing and get their bracelet and come back, and then they can be on the, you know, all over in the livestock area. It's just a little much, because when you're trying to move an animal in and your kids and move your campground in, these things get a little testy. So thank you for the time. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't have any other hands up, but if anybody is interested, please raise your hand. No one else is raising their hand.
Okay, with that, are we going to have, realizing what's going on, we usually don't want to have a meeting in July. You're going to have a meeting in July?
Yep.
We are. Right on. Okay, next meeting is July 7th, 4:30 to 6. Perfect.
Friday at 11 o'clock. Is it at the Wingspan or Carol?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? All right, with that, seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Right on. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are done.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.